Hi everyone, we'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to get logged in and to get sorted, and then we'll make a start. So to those of you who are joining now, we're just going to wait a couple of minutes so that everyone can get into the presentation, and then we'll make a start. So I think we'll make a start, and then hopefully any latecomers or people having difficulties will be able to join us as soon as possible. So quickly before we start, just to note that this session will be recorded. So please do make sure that your camera is off and your microphone is muted. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and we would really love it if you would like to ask any questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Honestly, no question is silly, so please just ask anything that you would like, and we can provide you with a really open and honest answer. This is only students, the 5 of us are all students, and so we will give you the student perspective as well as we can. So just to introduce ourselves, I'm Hannah, I'm 22 and in my 3rd year at Norland. I am head of students. And before I came to Norland, I studied A-levels in French psychology and drama and theatre studies. And I'm really quite gutted to be coming to the end of my Norland journey, but have absolutely loved it.
So I am Freya, I'm 21 and I'm in set 42, so the same year as Hannah. I'm in my final year and I am deputy head of students, which I absolutely love. And so before Norland, I came out of year 11, did a year of A-levels and decided it wasn't really for me. I wanted more experience with children before coming to Norland. So then I did my level 3. So I've got a dual sort of perspective on that. I absolutely love Norland, and like Hannah, absolutely gutted to be coming to the end of it. But I'd love to share my experiences and hopefully set you guys up on your Norland journey.
Hello, I'm Nancy. I'm deputy head of set 43, so I'm in my 2nd year. I'm 19 and like Hannah and Freya, like Hannah, I did A-levels. I also did psychology and theatre studies, and I obviously found out about Norland through my mum. She was in set 10, trained a few years ago now. It was a bit different back then, but I'm looking forward to the rest of my Norland journey.
I'm Holly, I'm in set 43, so I'm in my 2nd year, and I'm a student content producer, and I, a bit like Freya, did college, so I did a level 3 before coming to Norland.
Hi, I'm Abby, I'm 20 and I'm from Brighton, and like Holly, I also went to college and I did A-levels in psychology, philosophy and business studies, and an EPQ where I made a craft and recipe book, and I've wanted to go to Norland since I was about 12.
So we thought we would start by describing our typical week in the life of us at Norland. Every week is completely different, and this is just a typical week. Obviously now, due to coronavirus, it's all a bit different, but typically you have 1 day of diploma lectures a week, 2 days of academic lectures, 1 day dedicated to independent study or masterclasses, and 1 day dedicated to independent study or guest lectures. So on Monday, we have a 2-hour sewing lecture where in your group, it's a really nice, informal, really lovely environment. And actually we have such great chats and have made really, really good friends through sewing. It's not as scary as it seems, I promise. And then we have 2 hours in the food and nutrition, And yeah, this is really lovely. We cook such a varied variation of things, kind of preparing for all sorts of religious requirements and dietary requirements, and it's really varied, and you get to eat all the food that you make, which is always a plus. And then yes, so on Tuesday, if you have independent study, you can either study from home or at college, and quite a few of us study in cafes around Bath. And the amazing thing is that even if you are studying at home, the lecturers are always still there, and they're just a call away or a FaceTime away, and are always available. Masterclasses cover all of the practical side of things, so everything to do with babies, and then working upwards with toilet training and weaning. This all takes place at the London Road campus, where all of the practical kind of sterilising kits and bottle making and everything is there. So yeah, this is where you put everything that you've learned into practice. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we have a total of 6 hours of academic lectures. Now this sounds like a lot, but the lectures are so varied in terms of having, presentations, group work, one-on-one work, the lecturers sharing personal experiences, the lecturers inviting people in to share their experiences. No lecture is ever the same, and we study such a huge variety of subjects and modules that is just so vast and so interesting. And within that, we have an hour's lunch break where you can either stay at Norland and in normal times, or gather in the common room, where it's really nice to have, catch up and see all your friends who aren't in your academic groups. Or you can go out and, go for a walk at lunchtime or anything. And then on Friday, which always remains the same, is that we have an independent study or guest lecture day. We have some really, really interesting guest lectures, some of whom teach kind of etiquette, and we had a really interesting one last time about teaching children all about kind of all about kind of teaching them about how babies are made and all of that from a young age. Really, really interesting lady, and yeah, really, really interesting, and really advances and adds to our curriculum.
So what Hannah's just talked about there is your standard academic week. So you're in college, you're learning. Out of our 12-week term, 8 of those weeks will be dedicated to academic learning. So you'll be doing your sewing, your cooking, and your degree lectures and things like that. That's the weeks that Hannah has described. But for the remaining 4 of those, it doesn't matter where they fall in the term. Norland can change them and things like that. It just depends on how it works with the set separation. But those 4 weeks will be dedicated to placement. And this is something amazing that we do at Norland. And I absolutely love placement. You really get to put what you've learned in the classroom into practice, which is perfect. So you normally work a Monday to Thursday routine. You do around 8 hours a day, and this can be in a setting, so a nursery school, preschool, childminders, forest school, whatever, or it can be in a family. So towards the end of your first year, you start to work with families in their family home, which is perfect experience for working as a nanny. So that's your Monday to Thursday. You'll be doing 8 hours a day. And then Friday, you don't have to go into placement, but you can dedicate that day to doing your placement paperwork, because obviously we want to document everything that we're learning and everything that we're doing on placement. So we have to do certain paperwork to prove that we are doing these things. And Friday is a really good day to do that, but that is an independent study day, much like on the academic weeks. And like I said, you have 8 weeks at college and 4 weeks on placement. We do a variation of placements, and I'm sure they were talked about in the, I believe, the degree and diploma session as well, if you want to go back and rewatch that.
So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about the uniform, which we get a lot of questions on. So obviously the brown formal uniform, which you can see on the left, is what we wear to our lectures and our formal events. That's our academic lectures. So formal events might be the guest lectures that Hannah touched on, or a ceremony, perhaps a welcome back ceremony. And then the blue uniform is for our practical lectures and when we're on placement. This is just, you know, it's what it says, it's practical, you know, you wouldn't be expected to get messy, go and play out in the woods, in the mud, in your brogues, you know, in your brogues and dress. That just wouldn't be very practical. So it's just straight blue trousers, navy blue, with the polo neck top. And then for brogues, it does say suggesting from buying from Clark's. These don't have to be from Clark's, but they are probably the ones that most people have. I have recently bought a pair because they are, I think they're the most sturdy there and good for price as well. And then with your bun, it does have to be off your collar. And some people use donuts, some people can do amazing plaits and get it all straight slicked back. I can't. I'm a year in and I'm still learning what's best for me. But to be honest, it's just learning what works for you, and it might take a couple of weeks to get your bun perfected, but you know, that's completely normal. But a good tip is to keep a pack of bobby pins in your bag, or an extra hairband, an extra bun net, and you never know, your housemate or your friend from your lecture group might, you know, her hairnet might break, so it's always good to have a few spares around. And then makeup is light and minimal. Obviously you are allowed to wear makeup, but it's the kind of thing, and Hannah touched on it in another panel, is that obviously if you're working with babies and you have a cake full of makeup on your face, it's not fair to share that with the baby's skin, that kind of thing. So it's just all these things are to keep, you know, keep you practical and safe and working with children. So tattoos, like it says, covered up. Some people I know one girl I can think of, she has a slightly larger one on her arm, so maybe a plaster might not be suitable, but you can get kind of tubey grips, the things you can get, but it's just working out and just keeping sure they're covered. Piercings, only one pair of studs in your ear. These can be small pearls or small silver or gold balls. And again, working with babies, you'd take these off, that kind of thing, just being practical. Watches, black or brown strap, and Fitbit. And I got quite a lot of questions about fob watches, and you are allowed to wear them. I wear one as well. I think they're quite useful. But again, with watches and earrings, and fob watches, you would take them off with a baby, but you'll learn all about the specifics when you, well, hopefully when you apply. And then the expectations, obviously, all these things that you can see, crossing the road when the green man's showing, not eating at fast food restaurants or having hot drinks in your hands, no earphones when walking, and no eating food while you're going along. All these things are to demonstrate good role modelling and behaviour that you would expect children to be learning. So, you know, it's not safe to carry a hot drink with a toddler or a baby because, you know, it wouldn't be safe, but just all these things, role modelling. And passing over to Holly.
Fab, yeah, so the extracurricular activities, there is so maybe something to suit you. So there's like it says, there's Norland Choir, the signing choir. That's great to be involved with because signing is something that can be really useful with children as well. There's a Christian Union, there's a sewing club, running club, Spanish. So there literally is, the possibilities are endless. We also are part of the Bath Spa Society, so there's different sports. I know there's people that do cheerleading and skiing and all the different things that come with the Bath Spa. And we've had some Zumba, we did Zumba, so over Zoom. So we've kind of moved all of our activities online to fit with the COVID, but we are having friendship groups outside of Norland and having a way to relax after a busy day.
Hi, so I'm here to talk to you about accommodation. So in your first year in Norland, as long as this is what you want, but you'll be asked whether you want Norland to help you find accommodation, and most students do. So you get sent like a sort of like a questionnaire, and they'll ask you whether you want to be in like a noisy or a quiet house, like location wise, whether you have a car, things like that, so that they can help match you up with the best people for you to be in a house with. Last year I was in a house with 4 other girls. It was really nice to get to know everyone, and it's also, if you're a bit nervous about making friends when you first move to Norland, it's really nice because you sort of form good friends with your housemates, and then you can go in and then you feel like you have friends already. Also, trying to think of any other questions. Our accommodation was really nearby, so it was nice and easy to get a bus down to where our house was. Not too far away. Basically, so like it says here, you're offered whether you want to help. And then so we don't have halls, we have houses, and they range from, I believe, 3, and there's one large house of 10, but most houses are between 3 and 6. And bills are you sort out bills yourself, but it's really easy. And then in second and third year, so now I'm living with a family, but most girls, I believe, move in with other people from Norland in their second or third years, but you have to sort out your own accommodation. However, there are sometimes advertisements through Norland for places for second and third years, and on our group chat, people always, third years leaving, will say, oh, this is a really nice house for recommendations, so it's never hard to find somewhere.
So we thought we would just give you kind of a little oversight of life in Bath outside of college. So it is the most wonderful city to live in. It's actually surprisingly really small. Like, it doesn't feel like too overwhelming or too big. I'm from Oxford, and it's actually really similar in size and feel to how Oxford feels. But yeah, we really, really love it. And as Abby said, like, the houses are all in distance of being able to walk into the city centre, despite the huge hills. You know, going down is great, and then coming back up is just not ideal, but keeps you fit. But there are such a large variety of independent cafes and bars, which is so lovely, as well as kind of all of the I can't think of the words, you know, like the ones which are really common, like, I can't think of the word, like chain restaurants, there you go. But there's also really good shopping in Bath, but Bristol really isn't far either, and actually myself and my housemates quite regularly hop over to Bristol and like Cabot Circus and go shopping. There's quite a variety of supermarkets. We always shop at Lidl, but there's also big Sainsbury's, and yeah, these are also really not far away. There's also a massive variety of gyms, from like your Pure Gym and Better Gym to, I go to like an independent family run one. There's also loads of beautiful running and walking routes. The Bath Skyline Walk is definitely, I mean, that is 6 miles long, so pretty hardcore, but yeah, really so many beautiful viewpoints. We've also got the cinemas, Odeon and Tivoli. Tivoli is one of those cool ones where you can like sit on a sofa and order food to your chair. And then there's the Trampoline World. And actually at Trampoline World, there's now like a bowling place. There's the Bath bus tours, and the Bath City Farm. And normally around Christmas, there's the amazing Bath Christmas markets. I think coronavirus has stopped that from happening this year, but they are so wonderful and so like recognized around the world, like as like one of the best, and it's just really special. Obviously we're referring to normal life now because everything is different now, but in the evening there are loads of pubs, bars and restaurants. There are a few clubs in Bath. I wouldn't say it's the most wild clubbing scene, but if that is your thing, Bristol again is not far away, and the bus is something crazy like £2 or something to go, and Bristol has a lot like of a bigger clubbing scene. But also within Bath, there's a lot of opportunity to socialise with the other 2 unis, especially with Bath Spa. Personally, I joined the Snow Sports Society last year. I never went skiing, but I just went to all the socials and actually made loads of friends. So yeah, definitely if you want more of, especially if there's not many boys in your year and you want to get to know, if you're one of those people that likes to have boyfriends and girlfriends, like get to know other universities is a really good way to do that. Yeah.
So alongside the great social life that you can have at Norland, a lot of our students want to work alongside. I personally do. It's helped me fund my studies and my lifestyle and my rent and things like that. So yeah, a really, really lovely thing to do. So you can do part-time nannying and babysitting, so after college in the evenings if people are going out. Before coronavirus, we would get babysitting requests, I'd say about 6 a week coming through, so there's lots of opportunity to work. Nancy's even saying more, we get them constantly, but obviously now due to coronavirus, less people are going out, but we're still getting a good few babysitting jobs coming through. You can also work on the weekends. So I worked on the weekends with a family weekend nannying, but you can also work in, you know, nothing stopping you getting a job in a supermarket or a bar or anywhere at all. And yeah, there's also holiday work. So if you want to have your term time as your term time, your holiday time is your work time, that's perfectly fine as well. And we get requests through for those positions as well. I personally work for a family local in Bath, and they're really, really lovely. But there are lots of families in the surrounding areas as well. And if you do want to travel, I know a few students that do the odd weekend of work in London, and they stay with a family over there as well. So there's lots and lots of different opportunities. If you want to learn more specifically about this, I was on the finance, fees and bursaries talk back on Wednesday, and I believe the video will be uploaded to YouTube about that soon, and it's got a whole section on the jobs and the opportunities that you can get at Norland. I really, really recommend going back and looking at that video, because yeah, there's lots of different student perspectives of funding studies and working alongside as well.
So we just thought that we would share with you guys some of our favourite things about Norland. This is just a very, very random selection of photos, just to give you a little insight into what our day-to-day lives look like. You've got like pictures of Forest School on the left, our sewing aprons at the bottom, an example of the Norland Bake Off at the top. That's me with a virtual baby, quite a cool aspect of Norland. My virtual baby experience was quite funny. We all decided to get our virtual babies at the same time. So we had 4 virtual babies in our house. And yeah, it was great fun. I mean, mine was typically up all night, but it was such a great experience and really something to look forward to during your time at Norland. But yeah, we thought we would all share our favorite things. So I'd say, leading on from what Freya has just said, one of my favourite things about Norland is the work opportunities that have come. Even from just being a student, just having the Norland training behind you really, really makes you stand out. And I'm really lucky to have spent my first year summer working for Scott Dunn in Mallorca. So I'm going to sneeze. And because I love that so much, I then set about really trying to secure a lot of travel jobs, and I had jobs in place to travel to Israel, Hong Kong, New York and Tuscany before coronavirus hit, and then they all had to be cancelled. So yeah, there really is some amazing work opportunities, and I regularly go up to London to work and go all around the country. There really are jobs everywhere. And so if you want to work alongside your studies, and if you're worried about funding your studies while you're here, there really, really are a lot of opportunities for that.
So my favourite thing about Norland is that it is so small. I personally come from quite a small town, and I came from quite small schools relatively, and Norland really mimics that, but in like a really professional way. So we have small class sizes, we have small year sizes as well, and for me that's really, really valuable. I absolutely love it, because not only can I get to know the people in my set and the people in Norland really, really well. You can form those really, really strong friendships and bonds, which is amazing. But as well, that you have this specific support. So in a lecture, if you know, in normal universities, when there's 300 people in a lecture room, you might feel a little bit nervous to stick your hand up and ask a question, just in case you're asking the wrong question. Whereas when you're in a lecture group of, say, 25 is the biggest our lecture groups get, you don't feel silly asking that question, because you're in a room full of friends, and you can really, really get the most out of it. And as well, people like our librarians get to know us really well. So it's just that specific tailored approach, because there's not many of us, and it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I have to second that from Freya as well, because I'm someone who kind of needs lots of support. You know, I'm quite dyslexic, so doing assignments and things like that can be really tricky for me. But since we are such a small community, I can get the support from my tutor, from a lecturer, from anyone, from my peers, you know, because we're all in this together. But also, I think one of my favourite things has got to be the placements, because you just, you know, for anyone who's, you know, done any childcare experience whatsoever, you know that all children are unique, all children are different, the same way that all settings and all families are different. So every time you go, yes, there'll be a lot of overlaps between a toddler nursery and another toddler nursery, but actually they're all so unique, and you just gain so much from all your placements, and also being able to put your theory that you learn on the degree into practice. And you know, you hear people talk about that all the time and think, oh yeah, of course you can put that theory into when you're working with a 4-year-old, but you really can, and you really see that. And I kind of have learned that through even my first week of my first ever placement. So yeah, the placements are amazing and really valuable experience for future careers, future jobs, and future life.
Yeah, kind of Nancy touched upon it in terms of the support. The support and the family feel for me is my favourite thing, because everyone champions each other and everyone cheerleads each other on. Students and staff alike. You always smile at someone you pass the corridor and catch up with them when you can. So that really is, people do kind of truly care and truly want you to do well. And so we all kind of as a family support each other. So that for me stands out.
And for me, it's probably our sewing and our F&N lectures, specifically sewing. It's like, it's not a lecture at all, really. Obviously we learn like about sewing and things, but really it's more just sitting down, having a chat, like helping out each other, and just going to make some really nice things, especially teaching us skills of things that we can make for our charges in the future, which is really nice. It's a little takeaway for the families that we work for.
So
we've come to the end of our presentation. So we would love to answer some of your questions. Please note that your camera is off and your microphone is muted, but we would love if you would love to ask questions via the Q&A button. So yeah.
Thank you. We've had some really wonderful questions come through. Thank you to everyone for providing such a wonderful insight to Norland. I'm going to start with you, Hannah. Do you need to submit a letter of application as well as a UCAS personal statement?
So when you apply, you obviously write your personal statement for Norland. And if you are only applying for Norland, then you can obviously gear your entire personal statement towards Norland. You can mention Norland in the name and throughout. But if you are thinking of applying to Norland and other universities, then you can't gear your personal statement just to Norland. But if you are that person, you can submit that personal statement, but then also submit and send to Norland the Norland specific letter explaining why Norland is the place for you. So if that's you, you can submit 2, but if Norland is your only option, then 1 is perfectly fine.
And these 2 questions overlap, I'm going to ask to Freya. So it's about student life, and when you're not at university, are you able to go out, and do you feel you get the full university experience that you wanted?
I definitely feel like I've had the university experience that I wanted. Bath is great. Towards I am looking to be working in London in the future. For me, that's where my nanny career is headed. And coming from a small town, if I was to be already thrown into London and London life, that would have been really, really scary for me. But Bath was that good stepping stone. It's also been a good stepping stone in getting the university life that I wanted. I've been able to go out, I've been able to have fun, I've been able to meet lots of different people, as well as obviously get my head down and do some work. So yeah, I absolutely love it, and Bath has been the best place for me to get that kind of experience, because it's busy enough, but it still lets me focus on uni work, because obviously we do have a lot of work. We're doing 2 courses, but I still definitely get to have a bit of fun as well.
Fab. This next question is for Abby. What do the sets mean?
So our sets are basically our year group. So like at school, you'd have year 11, year 10. Basically the sets are our year group. So Nancy and Holly are in my set, we're in set 43. And then Hannah and Freya are in the set above us, which is set 42.
Another question for Holly is, I have very fine hair and I struggle to put it into a neat bun. Do you have any tips or tricks?
I guess it's kind of trying and see what works for you. It might be that a donut works, it might be that a donut doesn't work, but kind of have a little practice, self-comfortable, but bobby pins and hairnets are great.
This next one's for Freya. Are the bedrooms single or shared in the first year?
So was that single or double or single or shared?
Single or shared?
So they are, you will have your own bedroom, you will have your own space. So don't worry about that. You won't be sharing with anyone. Obviously, you'll be sharing a house with people. It's really common that you're sharing a bathroom with people. In my first year house, there was 5 of us, and we had 2 bathrooms. So Norland will always make sure that we have the right amount of bathrooms and the right amount of facilities in the house to make sure that we are safe and happy. But no, you will have your own bedroom, and this can have a single or a double bed in it. It really just depends. In my first year house, we had 5 bedrooms, only one of which was a single bed. But I know other student houses that have 5 bedrooms and only one was a double bed. So you'll just find that information out when you get your housing information come through, if you want to work through Norland that way.
Also, can I just add on to Freya's comment about that? So in my student house, all of our rooms were singles, but I actually took all the furniture out and we found somewhere to store that, and I changed mine into a double. So you really do have the opportunity to change your room in to make it really homely and really a nice place for you to live and have a great Norland experience.
Hannah, a question for you. I am Italian, but I would like to apply for September 2021. Do you know if I can?
Yeah, definitely. We have quite a variety of students who come from abroad, and it's really, really nice to have that and to have different perspectives. And also, I think it's been quite a lot of jobs will specify that they would love to have a bilingual nanny or a nanny who can teach the children Italian. And yeah, definitely do apply. That sounds amazing.
I just add on to that, sorry. If you want to know more information, email admissions and they'll give you all of the information that you need to. I believe there are some requirements that you do need to hit, but yeah, definitely email them, give them your information, and they'll try and sort something out for you. But at the end of the day, we want students here, so we'll work to try and get you here.
And also, I don't know if that question was geared more towards the fact that we've got coronavirus at the moment, but we had a lot of students join in September who came from their countries where they lived, but just quarantined in Bath for 2 weeks before they started lectures. So it was entirely possible, but we just had to take all the precautions to be extra safe so that it was safe to study.
Lovely. I've got one here for Abby. I can't sew. Are Norland able to cope with total novices?
So the answer is yes. One of my friends she struggles with sewing, and then on the other hand, there's people who don't find sewing difficult. But I actually run a sewing group after school for help and tips and advice and anything like that. So I'd love to see you there if you do decide to join Norland. But yes, the Norland sewing lessons are great for anyone who's never sewn before, or it also helps people who have sewn before to further their skills. So yes, don't worry about if you can't sew. You'll be able to once you leave Norland.
Just to add to Abby's point as well, I don't know how many people can see, but I put my hand up and said that I am 1 year in and I still struggle with sewing. But the thing is, because, going back to the whole Norland is a small community, you can get all the support you need, because especially now our lecture groups for sewing are so small. We're still face to face, which is amazing, obviously distanced and masked and all the necessary precautions. But something that's really important to know about with sewing and food and nutrition is that Norland understand that some students are going to arrive and they'll have already been making their own clothes and, you know, cooking every day huge meals for families that they might have already worked with. But there will be people who will join and have never sewn. I had sewed on a sewing machine a couple of times for fun, nothing huge or anything like that. But I think it's important to know that in the first week of your sewing and food nutrition, Norland really cater for all abilities. You know, you'll start and everyone will learn the beginning stitches, and you'll start food nutrition and everyone will learn to poach an egg and boil an egg and chop up fruit in the correct way. But these things are still so beneficial to all of us. And, you know, if there are people in our set who maybe are already expert sewers, that kind of thing, they'll cater for individual needs. So they might move you up or say, oh, why don't you try this now, and that kind of thing. So it is really important to know that everyone is seen as equal at the beginning, and, you know, everyone's an individual. A question for Holly is, what shoes are you required to wear while you're on placements?
Yeah, so we still wear the same brogues, but if you're in like a forest school or outdoors, you can so they kind of you can get your wellies muddy and not your brogues.
I've got one here for Hannah. Do you mix with Bath University students? We've got, not in brackets, not Bath Spa.
Yeah, definitely. So actually one of my housemates is a Bath University student, and we just kind of met back in normal times when you were able to kind of, you know, go clubbing and go that sort of thing. And yeah, that's how we met. And I think when you join the gyms and that sort of thing, at Pure Gym especially, like so many Bath Uni students, and yeah, like a lot of my school friends were also Bath Uni students, which I think really helped. But yeah, it's just, I think it's about just like reaching out and like going out on the nights when Bath Uni students have their socials and everything. And yeah, there are so many students around Bath as well. It's such a like vibrant city full of like young people, which is just a really nice place to be part of.
This is for Freya, although I'm sure all of our answers will differ. How much on average do you spend per month on bills?
So on bills, so in general for like house bills and things, sometimes they can be included in your rent and sometimes they aren't included in your rent. This can really depend on what size room you've got, if you've got an ensuite, if you're living with a family, it's such a varied scale of the kind of housing that's available for students in Bath. Again, if you look back on the admissions and housing and accommodation talk, I'm sure they give you lots and lots of information on housing there. I'm not sure if they give it a rough estimate, but there's loads of information there. I personally have a double bedroom room. I have a shared kitchen and shared bathroom. It's right in the centre of town, and including bills per calendar month, I pay £510. But again, it can go upwards and below that. My housemate pays less because she has a smaller room. So it just depends. And then another housemate pays more because she's got an ensuite. So it just depends on what you want and what you're looking for. Obviously, with first year, if you are looking to find your accommodation through Norland, which the majority of students do, you will be placed in a house, and in that house prices may vary again, so you can make an argument for the room that you would like for a different price. But it is really hard to say how much you're going to be spending on rent and bills and things like that, because it just does vary from landlord to landlord. Sorry.
Did any of you else want to add to those bills? Is that about right?
So I'll just add on a bit. So I'm in my second year, and for this year I've moved in with a family. So like Freya said, that it's up to you whether you choose to do that and if you can find someone. So my bills are actually included, and I'm living by myself. So if you decide that maybe you don't want to live with other people, it is possible to do that if you're more of a live by yourself kind of person. But yeah.
Fab. I'm going to stay with you, Abby, for the next question. When you have applied and got your place, do you get to know your housemates like through an introduction day or a WhatsApp group chat?
So when I found out who my house group was, we all started like messaging each other, and we set up a house group and organising nice things, and we organised what rooms we wanted, and we've got to know each other really well. This year I'm not living with the same girls, but we're all still really close, and we formed really good friendships that will last a lifetime, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, looking at the questions, there are lots of questions about housing and accommodation and that sort of thing. And obviously we'd love to answer all of them, but it is, I think the admissions teams, the accommodation and admissions, but the accommodation team are amazing, and Sue and Rebecca, and get in touch with them with their email. I think it's admissions@norland.ac.uk, might be wrong, but they will answer all your questions, that kind of thing. There was a really lovely question which I'd like to ask to Hannah and or Freya, and then maybe we could feedback on how we feel from our year. But it's, do the older students help the younger ones to learn the ropes, such as hair and assignments? So Hannah, what do you?
Yeah, so we were actually just saying before we did this talk that we really love, I think, because we're coming to the end of our Norland journey, being able to kind of give back and help other people onto their Norland journey is just really, really special for us. And I personally think when I leave Norland, I'll never quite leave, because it's kind of, it just holds a special place in your heart. Like, it's such a wonderful kind of family to be part of. And definitely I would say in like a really, like, not a patronizing way at all, but in more of just a friend, like there's so little of us at Norland, like a maximum of 300 students at once, that I would say we all look out for each other. And I have friends in all 3 years and always have done every single part of Norland. And I would hugely say that, yeah, so on, even if we don't see each other in person that often, we have a huge Facebook group that we're all part of, and regularly people will put in things like, oh my goodness, my charge, I need to wean my charge and I have no idea what I'm doing, like, can anyone help? Or I'm having a nightmare of potty training, like, does anyone have any tips? And we will all comment, and everyone can share their advice. And definitely older students hugely do look out for the younger students, which is really, really special and really nice. And there's no sort of hierarchy comparing whether you're in 3rd year or 1st year. Like, we are all just like a big family who completely want the same thing and are so passionate about our career choices and looking after our little ones. And so, yeah, definitely, that's a really, really sweet question.
I'd also second that from another sort of 3rd year perspective. But something that's amazing at Norland is we have the student staff liaison committee. So as Hannah and I said, Hannah is head of students and I'm deputy head of students, and Nancy's deputy head of her set, and then Holly was also a representative for her set last year. And it's basically like a student rep kind of thing. So we have 4 representatives per student per year, and that just shows that Norland know that students need to look out for other students, and we are put in these positions and we are voted in by our sets and by our fellow students to make these changes for the students and to look after them, and it's by doing little things. So like Hannah and I organised Welcome Week last year for the current set 44s who are the 1st years, so it's just making sure that they have a warm welcome to Norland and things like that. And if you look back on Norland's Instagram, you'll be able to see different pictures from that as well, and that's so lovely. And I think that shows that we do our best to try and look after each other, and we're the only ones that know exactly what you're going through, because your friends from other universities may think, oh, you're going to a sewing lesson, that must be so easy. But actually other Norland students get that it can be tricky, it can be stressful, and yeah, that family community really helps. And it, like Hannah said, it works both ways. So 1st years help 3rd years, 3rd years help 1st years. It doesn't matter, we're all here for each other no matter what.
I think also in a more practical way of things, we as 3rd years, when we kind of begin to leave Norland, we pass all of our jobs onto the upcoming 1st and 2nd years, because our employers like to keep within that Norland student bubble, and they would like people who they can trust and that they find reliable to look after their children. And the same applies to finding houses. in second year. I'm in third year, I've got a 5-bed house and I've already found someone in second year to live in it. So it's a very close community and everyone really does look out for each other.
That's really lovely, thank you. I've got one here for Holly. Will you be with the same students in every class, or are there different students for each class?
Yeah, so we have an academic group. So before COVID, we had an academic group and a diploma group. So you had 2 groups of students. At the moment, it's the same, but you're in slightly different groups. But there's events and social things where you get to meet everyone. So you do know the whole of your year. You just get to know some more than others. And then often you're in a different group to people you live with. So you have your house friendship group, and then you have your friendship groups from your lessons as well. So you can meet everyone.
This is a question for Abby. Can you please expand on the code of conduct?
So things are obviously very different at the minute. Like Holly just touched on, our lecture groups have changed. We did used to have the academic group and the practical groups, but now we have more of smaller groups for both. So our people that we're in our house with are also in our lecture groups, so that we have more bubbles, so that just to reduce the risk of mixing, basically. So there's that. We have masks. We get supplied with a Norland pack, which has basically everything you could need: antibac wipes, masks, hand gel, and we have to wear masks for our lectures just for our safety, and we're all socially distanced, and we clean down all the surfaces that we've touched at the end of the sessions with the antibac wipes. They've also got this really good new system where every lecture is recorded, video recorded, as well as PowerPoints uploaded, so that if you have to miss it because you're self-isolating or you're ill, then you can catch up and it feels like you're in the room. Placements are basically the same as they were before. Obviously, we need to make sure we're not taking risks that we don't need to ensure the family safety. But yeah, that's basically the same. So that's only the real changes, but it's still Norland, it's still a lovely bubble, and it's still a great place to be.
I think also, just adding on to all of what Abby said, if we are taking necessary precautions and we're being professional, and I think there's also, this might be what you mean, but also we have our professional code, our code of professional responsibilities, and so this is something we sign at the beginning of first, second, and third year. And I think you'll be able to find it on the Norland website, and it's all about how to be professional within an early years and within Norland. And it's things you have to uphold during your time there and always, because once an Norlander, always an Norlander. You have that name with you the rest of your life, in a good way, not kind of like in a daunting way. It's amazing, but Norland will continue their support. And I think that's also something to note, is that my mum, who left 30 years ago, and I know I bring her up a lot, but it's a good talking point, but she left 30 years ago, and she is still that many years on receiving support from Norland. Obviously because of COVID a bit different, but last year she attended 2 reunions with her year group and other year groups, so she was set 10. So, and a girl in set 44, her mum was in the same set as my mum, so we've got new connections there, and it is a family, and we say it a lot, and the community we have at Norland will stay with you the rest of your life, that kind of thing. But yeah.
That's lovely. I've got one here for Freya. I'm worried about homesickness. Do you have any advice how to cope with this?
Homesickness is so real, and it's a really big part of there's a really big worry when moving to any university. You're moving away from home. I miss my dogs so much. Oh my goodness. I also miss my family as well. That makes it sound bad that I'm not missing them. But homesickness is a really real thing. And I found it in first year. If I got poorly, all I wanted to do was come home. But everyone is in the same boat. I can't stress this enough. Everyone in your household, everyone in your friendship group will all be feeling the same things. Everyone's moved away from home. Everyone's got this new start. Everyone's worried. And my personal experience sharing that worry is so valuable. I remember saying to my housemates about 3 weeks in, I just said, I'm really worried about not making friends, and getting that out there and hearing them say, oh my goodness, me too, oh me too kind of thing. You are not alone. Please don't let that put you off coming off to Norland, because I have now found my second home in Bath, and I think my mum gets a bit worried sometimes when I call Bath home because I'm going home, you mean Bath? But I truly have found my second home here, and I absolutely love it. But please don't let that put you off, because Bath is a lovely place, Norland is a lovely community, and Norland can become your second family. And obviously you can always go back and visit. We have our half terms, holidays, things like that, so please don't let that put you off coming to Norland, because you may be leaving one family, but you are coming into another family, and we will love you all the same.
Yeah, I second all of that. Holly, there's a question for you. Please can I have some advice on writing my personal statement?
Yeah, so kind of within your personal statement, try and get as much of your experience in as possible. Think about kind of the things that you've learned from your experience and why coming to Norland would help you progress further in your career. Kind of just be honest and open and real, and talk about your journey and how you can continue your journey through Norland.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I was the same. I found writing my personal statement really tricky, because it's one of those things, and Hannah talked about it on the admissions and accommodation Q&A. It's that it's a way to talk about yourself and kind of show off yourself in the best possible way, and that kind of thing. And Norland really wants to see that. They want to hear about you. They want to hear about all the things you've been up to in your life, I guess. But if I could give you kind of two key points to remember for your personal statement, is obviously experiences, your own and with working with children, but passion, and showing that you have passion for not only becoming a Norlander but working with children, because that is what's at the heart of it. So yeah, experience and passion are 2 words to take.
Also, can I just add on to the end of that, if you really think that Norland is for you, I only applied to Norland. Obviously that's not something that you have to do, but a lot of people at my college were like, oh, that's very risky, like applying. But if you really think that it's for you, go for it. Really aim your personal statement at Norland, and then that will really shine through, and they'll really see that you're really that dedicated to coming to Norland, that you've only applied there. So go for it, like, yeah.
Lovely, thank you very much. I've got one here for Hannah. For the academic work, do you have a lot of written work to do? For example, having multiple assignments per week?
Yeah, so the really great thing about the academic side of things at Norland is that we don't have any exams, which for me was such a bonus. And then the assignments that we do have are such a variety of different kind of types of things. So we have academic posters, essays, presentations, like speeches, so many different types. So actually, if presentations and public speaking really isn't your thing, it's okay, because then you will have to do that, but then you can write an essay which you might feel more comfortable with. And within the year we do all of these. And actually Norland is really amazing in that they spread them out over the year, so that you will never have a period of time where you're like, oh my goodness, everything is due in and I haven't done anything. Like, they're all equally spread out, and you are given all of your deadlines at the beginning of the year, so that you can be organized and plan to make sure that you get them in on time. But yeah, as Freya dwelled on before, like there is such a huge level of support for these assignments, and actually Norland want you to do well. They're not going out to mark you harshly. They don't want you to fail. They want you to do really, really well, and they will do as much as they can to make sure that you don't overstress yourself or overburden yourself with these assignments, but actually come out with the degree classification that you have worked so hard for. So yeah, don't stress about that. It's okay.
Also, there isn't like hundreds and hundreds of assessments. Like there's enough to keep you busy, but don't stress that you're going to be overrun the whole time and being like, I can't handle it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I agree. And Abby, staying with you because I know you're living with a family at the moment. If you are living with a family, how many hours do they typically expect you to work?
So this completely depends per family. I'm starting working with my family after Christmas just because of their previous nanny arrangements. But I'm living in an outbuilding as well, which helps keep the separation when necessary. But I will be working, I'm mainly doing pickups and drop-offs and after school care until mum gets home. This can vary. I think some people do till bedtime, put the children to bed, so mum and dad just come home. And then some people probably do night nannying, but I think that's quite rare. Yeah, so it completely depends per family. I agreed that arrangement when I moved in. But there's definitely lots of opportunities, and I think a lot of families are quite flexible. They understand that you're a student and that you have your needs with Norland. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities, but there's nothing set in stone. It's more a personal agreement with the family that you're going to be working with.
Thank you. I've had a couple of questions about holidays. I'm going to ask this one to Holly. Are holidays the same as other unis?
I think the best way to say it is they're a bit more like school holidays in terms of half term and the amount of time you get at Christmas and summer. But there's still plenty of holiday, plenty of time off, and plenty of opportunities to gain other experiences. So it is very more kind of school termed, but it is a good balance.
This I'll ask Freya. How soon after your first year do you have to start looking for your second year accommodation?
So this can start whenever you're ready, really. I'd personally say give yourself a little bit of time because then you can really figure out who you want to live with. Obviously, when you come to Norland, you are allocated a house, and I'm absolutely lucky enough that I met my best friend in that house. But then I know lots of people that have totally changed houses and have no longer stayed with their first year accommodation housemates. So and it really just depends on you sort of your living arrangements, the way that you're sort of used to things. So please don't put off by that, but wait until you've got that group of friends that you really want to live with. But this can start from, I mean, I had messages from current first years looking at my house in September. So they found their group and they just wanted to find a house. But I know other students that have actually waited until the February to try and find accommodation for the following September. Although I advise to get your friendship group first and make sure you want to live with them first, I'd also say try and get it done fairly soon, ideally before Christmas or in January, just because then you've got peace of mind and you can set up all of the things that you need to when moving into your second year accommodation. But yeah, just so then you know the dates, so you can talk to your current landlord when you can move out, if you have a gap in between, so you have to move all your stuff back home and move it all back to Bath. It's just things like that. It's logistics. And but yeah, like I said, there's first years coming to look at my house at the moment. So third years will recycle their houses and put them up for ad, because landlords absolutely love Norland students. So yeah, if you can find Norland students, they'll love it.
That's lovely. We are running out of time for questions, but I've got one last question here that I'd like to ask all of you. I will start with you, Hannah. What made you choose to come to Norland over any other university, especially as the fees are so high?
So I think what made me really want to come to Norland is that it is the highest qualification that you can get in early years, and it really just is like the best of the best. And there really, for me, there was nothing that compared, because there is no other place where you can study a degree in early years development and learning and the Norland diploma. So two separate courses, but the Norland diploma is so specific to Norland, nowhere else does it. And I think that was the main reason, but also the career opportunities that come after Norland. Like for me, I really want to travel the world, and there's no other job which I think I would love anymore and be able to travel the world with it. So I think it's the experience, it's the qualification, but also what comes after that really made me want to come here?
I think also the relationships you build over your time and career being a nanny, and possibly something to add is, you know, in my opinion, why be a nanny when you can be a Norland nanny? And seconding all of what Hannah said, but I am worried that we're running out of time, and I'm sure Hannah would and everyone would second this, that obviously our nanny accounts were put up on at the beginning, and there are still lots of questions that we might not have been able to answer. So do just send us a message on any of our accounts, and I'm sure we'll all be happy and more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this session. I will hand back over to Hannah just to say a final goodbye.
Yeah, so it's been an amazing time sharing all of our experiences with you. We really hope that we have helped, and we're sorry that we ran out of time to answer all of your questions, but as Nancy said, we all have Instagram handles and we always love hearing from you. And yeah, as we dwelled on before, it really is so special as we come to the end of our Norland journey to be able to pass so much advice and guidance over to people, you guys starting at the beginning of your Norland journey. It really is so exciting, and we all wish you the best of luck with your application and your journey at Norland. So yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.